absolutely.
So you have been meeting with people, with the provincial authorities, with the federal government authorities. Do you see an element of ownership among the Pakistani stakeholders, and do you think there is really a serious trust between the partners, and they are able to implement all those programs and projects, which would lead to a situation in a scenario where at least all the children of the age, those who have to be in the schools, they are in the schools? Do you see that kind of seriousness in the government, or the government is just interested in getting more loans?
Well, I think it is not, it's not every day that we launch a country partnership framework in the presence of the Prime Minister. It has been actually a feature of the process of preparation of this partnership framework that whether it is in the consultations at the provincial level, whether it's in the consultations with civil society, whether it's in the work with the government ministries, we've benefited from a lot of ownership and a lot of, in a sense, a lot of support for what we're trying to do. I think that reflects the fact that, as we said about a year and a half ago in our Reforms for a Brighter Future report, Pakistan really is at a moment where it needs to decide. Does it want to move forward towards better outcomes for its people, or does it want to be stuck in low growth, in fact zero growth per capita for extended periods of time? I think the population of Pakistan wishes for a better future, and politicians that want to get votes from that population, I think, are some expectation to deliver. So I think that creates a basis for us to move forward.
Slightly changing the topic, private sector investment, which is very important, but Pakistan has been making attempts to bring the foreign direct investment. It has established the Special Investment Facilitation Council, but still the private sector, or even the total investment, is not more than 0.5% of the GDP. And if we look at the World Bank projection based on October 2024, the number is not bright even in 2030. How do you see that prospect? The SIFC was established, but it couldn't bring the investment. What is required to change this thing, that there is significant investment in Pakistan and it is able to improve the infrastructure with the help of the private sector?
So I think there are several elements that are important. The first is macroeconomic credibility and stability. Nobody is going to invest abroad into a highly volatile macroeconomic environment. On that front, I think we need to record that there has been significant progress. But in addition to that, you need to make credible commitments to the investor that they can make money, that the regulations will not be changed, that they can get their inputs through customs if they need to, that they will have access to energy on a reliable basis, etc., etc. And none of this is rocket science, but on a lot of these fronts, the performance of Pakistan in the past hasn't been very good. And I think it will take some time for people to build confidence that this is now different. We're not yet seeing it pick up. We think there is a potential for Pakistan to attract a lot more foreign direct investment. The IFC, which is a core part of this strategy, and you were mentioning $20 billion, IFC is expecting to be able to mobilize around the same amount again, so another $20 billion over the next decade, just through their own investments. And of course, that's just a small portion of what we think should be possible. But we're not yet seeing it, so
without
we hope.
India part of the game, which is the major economy in the region, of the South Asia region, Pakistan and India, they are not improving their relations. They are not improving their political relations. They are not able to improve their trade relations. Without India, how do you see the scenario in Pakistan in terms of foreign investment?
Well, of course, this is a broader political issue on which, frankly, I'm not sure we have much to say. But I do think Pakistan has, even without those improving relations, has some opportunities for improved exports, has some opportunities for improved, for attracting investments, to use the fact that it has a large population, it has still a young population. It should be doing much, much better. Of course, if relations with its biggest neighbor improved, that would be a fantastic additional opportunity for the economy of Pakistan. But I think it should focus on what it has under its own control. And there are many things that it can do to attract more investment.
One of the major problems that Pakistan has been facing is lack of consistency. We saw that often when the government changes, there are also policy reversals. And now it has become a new tradition, even when the finance minister changes, they even also changed their policies. And you, at a public seminar, mentioned that the kind of problem that Pakistan is currently facing, it cannot be resolved in a couple of years. They need a lot of patience. So do you really find the consistency, as you earlier mentioned, that there has to be a realization that where Pakistan wants to be? Do you think that the current leadership, the current government, have the realization that they need certain reforms that we have avoided so long, and key element is the consistency?
Well, I think the fact that they have agreed to a 10-year framework gives you some indication that they realize there needs to be some persistence. Otherwise, you're not going to get to the results. Does that insulate the government against the political vagaries of the day? I don't know. But it certainly shows that with respect to the things that we want to work together on, yes, we absolutely agree that we need to have consistency, we need to have persistence, we need to have stability. Otherwise, these goals will not be achievable.
But did you reach out to other political players? Because Tangier, you never know that today is a one party in the government, tomorrow maybe opposition. So do you really feel that there is a broader consensus on areas where World Bank is really keen?
I think so, yes. We have consulted across the political spectrum. This is part of our preparation process, that we do these consultations with the right group of civil society. We have talked to the opposition as well. I think, the data is pretty stark, okay? 77% of Pakistani children at the age of 10 do not reach a learning level that corresponds to the frontier, to the global frontier, to what would be achievable. That's a pretty stark number.
Yes.
38%, you were mentioning it yourself, of children in Pakistan are stunted. This is the same as in countries that have less than half of the per capita income that Pakistan has. But let's also look at it from the other side. We know from the experiences of Peru, from Indonesia, that stunting rates have been halved in less than a decade. That's precisely why we're saying, okay, let's set out this challenge for ourselves. Surely Pakistan can do it. Pakistan has major historical achievements. If you make this a national objective, then you can definitely make progress in that direction. So we're setting out that offer to all of the stakeholders to work together with us in this direction, and we're pleased that, at least in the form of this country partnership framework, that offer has been accepted.
So out of the 6 areas that have been identified and approved by the World Bank Board, 2 are directly or indirectly related to the climate change. President Donald Trump, he has withdrawn from the Paris climate agreement. Do you think that there can be any adverse impact of the US government's decision in terms of the Paris Climate Agreement on the World Bank funding to Pakistan? Because there will be some funding for these 2 areas.
So let's be clear about what these 2 areas are. The first is improving climate resilience. Whatever you believe the origins of the changing climate are, or how much investment should be put into mitigation, the fact that we are seeing changing weather patterns and that countries like Pakistan are very poorly prepared to deal with them, I think is widely accepted. And I think the history, even the most recent history, shows that vulnerability. So improving climate resilience will remain a priority for us. We have said globally 50% of the resources, a minimum of 50% of the resources that we spend on climate will be on adaptation, and we certainly aim to achieve that in Pakistan. The other is improving greening the energy system, but also making it more efficient. And it is, I think, true that today the marginal cost of renewable energy in Pakistan is lower than the purchase of fossil fuels from abroad, diesel and LNG, etc. And so Pakistan has an interest, an economic interest, in shifting its energy matrix towards renewables.
जी एक छोटी सी ब्रेक लेंगे यहाँ पर और ब्रेक के बाद हमारी डिस्कशन मार्टिन राइजर के साथ जारी रहेगी.